Mom was born on June 27th, 1912 in the little town of Berida, Nebraska. She loved to go to town, Marshalltown, and go shopping. She would take us kids from time to time, and then once we started having kids, she would take Dawn, especially Dawn and Mindy, and I'm sure Charlotte probably went from time to time too. She would ride the bus to Marshalltown and enjoy the day shopping. When Mom passed away, she had all kinds of clothes hanging in her closet with still the sale tags hanging from them. Same way with Avon. She had a drawer, 2 or 3 drawers full of Avon stuff because she always liked to buy Avon when it was on sale. Same way with clothes. She was an excellent mother. Our clothes were always clean. She was an excellent cook. She could fix the best roast chicken and roast beef on Sundays. We had roast beef every Sunday. Dad would get up in the morning early, put it on, and Mom would finish it off. And she could make the best gravy that anyone could make. Jackie's pretty close to it, but she could make the best gravy from scratch. Another thing that I remember of Mom and Helen and Sharee would definitely remember that. We would get up in the morning. At first and second and third call to breakfast, which was a Don McNeil show on the radio. And by the time it was the third call breakfast, which was first call was 8 o'clock, 8:15, second call, and third call was a third call to breakfast. And by the time she said third call for breakfast up the steps, man, we would jump out of bed because then we only had 15 minutes to go. Then we boys would run to the stairs, and the stairs were real steep. And Ellen and I would kick our heels all the way to the bottom, and then hit the good wooden door at the bottom, which Mom would then come running to the door thinking we had fallen head first down the steps. And we'd say to her, gotcha, Mom.
Say a couple things. It's kind of interesting and that I remember about Mom. Number one, when I was about 15 years old, Mom would have been about 35 years old. Now, she had a driver's license ever since she was a kid of 15, 16 years of age, but had never driven a car for, let's say, 15 or 20 years. My dad never owned a car, and when I went to get a driver's license, we used the car belonging to the people that owned the store where Dad worked. And you had to have a licensed driver with you when you took your driving test. And she was always concerned all day long, scared to death that the examiner was going to ask her to move the car or drive or something, and she wasn't even sure that she knew how to drive. Well, we survived the day she wasn't asked to drive, and I got my driver's license. As I recall, it was one of the happiest days of my life. But I think the story that I tell the most about my mother, and I've probably told this story hundreds of times to people throughout my lifetime. Apparently when I was a little boy or something, I always walked around and run around with stooped over shoulders and so on and so forth. So when I was in school, probably in middle grades and so on and so forth, and maybe as late as high school, when I'd walk out the back door of school, Mom would be there standing at the door. And as I walked out across the driveway, you'd have to know my mom to understand this, but she'd holler out to me, "Elwyn Bean, straighten up them goddamn shoulders." Mom, I love you to this day.
So what do you say about your big sister? Who's your best friend? Sharee was always my best friend. She was always looking out for other people. I remember when my kids, Kent, Minty, and Mark, were coming down to visit on weekends or in the summertime, she was like a second mom to them. I remember her collecting a little wooden box full of dimes when I was a little guy. And from time to time I would borrow a few of those dimes out of her. Well, I guess I might have to say I stole some dimes out of her little box. I tried to reimburse her later on, but she said no, there's no reason for me to do that. She knew all along I was taking the money. And here I thought I was being real secretive about it. She was a good athlete in high school, started on the basketball team as a guard. She was always looking after me. She was someone that I could always go to for counsel, and I came to her several times. I love her and I miss her.
Sharee was a fabulous person and a fabulous family person. We're all here celebrating this fourth 5-year reunion of the Beans because of Sharee. When us 3 kids, Helen, Sharee, and David, started raising families about 60 years ago, I guess, Sharee decided that we got to remain close as a family as we grew older and older. So for years, she insisted that we meet at the park in the Grand for an annual get-together in the summertime. Then, after a few years, she decided that just wasn't enough. We had to have more time together so every one of the cousins knew their first and middle names and what they liked and what they didn't like and so on and so forth. So we met twice a year, once at Christmas time and once in the summertime. At the Christmas times, we moved it around between the 3 of us who put on the Christmas party. Then after a few years, as the kids started getting a little older, it got far too complicated to have the Christmas get-together, but we've always had the yearly bean picnic. And until the last 20 years, I guess it is, I don't know who it is that thought up the idea of the 5-year reunion, but this is the 4th one, and that's why we're all here. She thought family was the most important thing in the world. She wanted all of us to know one another. She wanted the cousins to know their first and middle names, what they liked and what they didn't like. So that's why this 5-year reunion is such a wonderful thing.
So we were always scaring Mom whenever we had the opportunity. So one day when I was walking home from school, and I was in high school, coming down our backyard, Mom was looking out the kitchen window and saw me and thought it was her opportunity to return the favor. So she hid in the back closet. So when I came in the back door, she jumped out of the closet and said, "Boo!" And my instinct was to just slam the door closed and knocked her back into the closet before I realized what was going on. So then she went into her laughter that she would always do.
One of the many highlights for my birthday growing up was opening a birthday card from Aunt Sharee and finding a quarter taped inside of it.
Neatest things I remember about Grandma, we used to spend most of our weekends and a good part of our summers at Grandma's house. You know, whenever we'd come to visit, she'd always have vanilla pudding waiting for us. You know, the cooked vanilla pudding with a nice skimmy top on it. And she'd put some in the fridge too with a cover over it, so you'd have the choice between the skim top or the smooth tops.
Aunt Helen was always the one I would turn to during a difficult time. I loved her a lot.
I remember taking bubble baths at her house, and she would have that pink box of Mr. Bubbles she would sprinkle in there, and that was fun. I remember she always patted me with like a perfumed powder afterwards, which I'm guessing was probably an Avon product. I remember Grandma having a lot of Avon. I thought she sold it, she had so much, but I recently asked Dawn and she said no.
My favorite memories of Sharee are her fantastic hugs. I miss those so much.
Really miss Aunt Sharee. She was a great lady, always positive, always happy. Never forget her and Dean. Always watch Johnny Carson's monologue. I can picture them right now sitting in their chairs laughing. I really miss Aunt Sharee. She was the best bean, hands down.
My most special memory of Grandma Bean was her soup that she had, that beef and vegetable soup that everyone loves so much, because I was so young when she passed away. That's one of the things that sticks out in my mind the most.
I don't have a story to share. Instead, I want to say how very much my mom loved her family and how much the Bean family reunions meant to her. She felt it was her way of making sure we stayed close to each other and were always a part of each other's lives, no matter how many miles separated us. Mom was so very proud of her family and loved us all unconditionally. She gave the best hugs, and her laugh was infectious and unforgettable. I know she has touched each of our lives in one way or another and lives on through each of us. Thank you for remembering my amazing mom this year at Beanstalk.
Aunt Sharee was just the best aunt ever. We kids could always count on a birthday card sent to our house on time with a $5 bill in it. And $5 back then when I was a kid was a lot of money. It was always something to look forward to. I loved going to Aunt Sharee and Uncle Dean's house. I just thought it was the coolest house. Christmas was always so fun there.
Grandma used to, she'd always be super nice, look forward to our coming, and I think she even looked forward to us going even more, after a few days. I'm sure we tried her patience, in those latter years. I remember she used to give us, she had a little jar of nickels that she'd keep on top of the fridge, and she'd give us a nickel so that we could go up to the Cooleen's Cafe and get a dip of ice cream. It was always a nickel a dip. So we spent lots of happy times around LeGrand.
Aunt Sharee, she was such a special lady. What can you say? There's so many great memories of her, and the thing that I think was her gift to everyone was how special she made you feel. She always had a photo up on her fridge of us, a recent school photo. Your birthday card always arrived on time with $5 in it, and she just gave the most amazing hugs. She'll be missed forever. She was one special lady.
Grandma's babies. My Mindy is a darling. Kent, my little man. Mark, a brand new angel who just joined in Grandma's band. Sharee, my darling first babe, who holds a special place in my heart. Steve with his impish mischief. Susan with the flower face. Sweet Charla with the beautiful blue eyes. And Raymond, another mere angel, has come to take his place. Danny, the big boy of my babies. Ronnie, my joy to behold. Dawn, whose love holds me tightly, and now my story is told. Surely God in his heaven above us knows how thankful I am for all this, for never was ever a grandma endowed with such heavenly bliss.